Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. But now it's time to hit the links in Big Tournament Golf, also known as NEO Turf Masters. Released by SNK in 1996 and developed by NAZCA Corporation, this is the real arcade golf experience. Deceptively simple yet seemingly impossible to master, awesome sprite work, and a killer soundtrack makes this one of my favorite arcade games ever made. And today, we're going to take a look at it, along with a little bit of history on the Neo Geo. In 1990, video game development company Shin Nihon Kikaku, more commonly known as SNK Corporation, released the Neo Geo arcade system, one of the most well-known and enduring arcade platforms ever made, enjoying an astounding 14-year run of support. This arcade board was unique in many ways, with its most notable feature being that it was actually a cartridge-based system, not dissimilar to home consoles of the time. Each Neo Geo cabinet could hold and play up to 4 cartridges at a time, meaning arcade operators only needed to buy a few of these generic cabinets and load them up with different games, maximizing floor space and making each cabinet more profitable. Anyone who's played Arcade Paradise knows exactly what I'm talking about. It also made obtaining new games much cheaper. Instead of buying a brand new cabinet dedicated to only one game, operators could simply buy the cartridges of a new title, the marquee graphic inserts, and throw them into their machine already on the floor. The idea behind the swappable cartridges is credited to Takashi Nishiyama, video game designer and director who left Capcom to join SNK in the early 90s. You may not know his name, but I guarantee you're very familiar with Piston Takashi's work, as he was the creator of fucking Street Fighter, along with being a producer on the first Mega Man game. After flipping to SNK, he would create the Fatal Fury series, which he considered a spiritual successor to Street Fighter, and would also serve as a producer for the King of Fighters series. Takashi would eventually leave SNK and found his own development company, Dimps, another name you may not be familiar with, but again, I'm sure you've played some of their games. The Dragon Ball Z Budokai series, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Soul Calibur 6, and in a full circle moment, Street Fighter 4 and 5 were all developed by Piston Takashi's company. The Neo Geo also had the distinction of being marketed not only as arcade machine hardware, but also as a home console, another one of Nishiyama's ideas. The Multi-Video System, or MVS, served as the arcade version of the hardware, while the Advanced Entertainment System, or AES, was used for the home market. All throughout the 80s and 90s, video game publishers and developers were trying to bring the arcade experience home with various degrees of success. For every TMNT 2 on NES, there was a Pac-Man on Atari 2600. Hell, the marketing of the Sega Genesis outside of Genesis does what Nintendo don't, was the system's ability to bring arcade games into the living room, with games like Altered Beast and Strider being the best examples. The idea behind the AES home system was that it used the same exact hardware as the MVS. It was literally a mini Neo Geo arcade machine, so there would be no compromise from the arcade to the home. The luxury of playing an arcade-perfect version of Fatal Fury or King of Fighters 94 came at a steep price. Upon the AES's North American launch in 1991, it retailed for an astronomical $650 US. That's over $1,500 in 2025 money. Kaz Hirai, eat your heart out. Plus, games for this thing retailed for about $200 a pop. And you gotta think about it, buying Art of Fighting for the AES wasn't like buying Street Fighter 6 on PS5. With a modern fighting game, you expect to have arcade mode, versus, survival, online matchmaking and lobbies, maybe a story mode or character customization. But the AES games were one-to-one arcade ports, meaning when you threw down 200 big ones on a fighting game, you got the arcade ladder and versus mode. That's it. Suddenly $70 for something like Ghost of Yotei or Donkey Kong Bonanza doesn't seem so bad. What a steal. Also, the cartridges are absolute units. Seriously, you could kill someone with one of these things. And despite being one-to-one, the MVS and AES cartridges are not cross-compatible, so you can't buy an MVS cart of Neo Turf Masters and play it at home on your AES. The steep price of entry made the AES a niche console, to say the least, and I myself have never once laid eyes on one. And I sure as shit didn't know anyone who had one when I was a kid. However, I used to live in an apartment with an actual MVS cabinet. An old roommate of mine bought it from a guy in Virginia, and we made a road trip out of it to pick it up. It was a Japanese sit-down cabinet, or candy cab as they've affectionately come to be known as. Here in the United States, the MVS was sold as a stand-up red cabinet, but plenty of these candy cabs have made their way into the States over the decades. A bowling alley I used to hang out at had an entire wall of these things, which is where I first played Garo, Mark of the Wolves. Man, we would spend hours playing that machine. He even had all the mini marquees for the games he had through buying and trading with Neo Geo enthusiasts all over the country. He got some stools for it and even got a few Japanese yen coins to put in the coin slot to really give us that authentic arcade feel. Good times. My buddy had a few games for it, including the main topic of today, Big Tournament Golf, or as we knew it at the time, Neo Turf Masters. I guess this is a good time to talk about the name of the game. In Japan it was always known as Big Tournament Golf, but when it was localized for North America the name was changed to Neo Turf Masters. However, in 2019 it was officially renamed back to Big Tournament Golf due to a trademark issue with Augusta National Golf Course, the home of the Masters Tournament on the PGA Tour. Like, come on, really? The game had been called Neo Turf Masters since 1996, but suddenly when it was ported to modern consoles it was a problem? Eat shit, Augusta. It'll always be Neo Turf Masters to me. The game was developed by NAZCA Corporation, a company founded by employees of the former Irem Software Company, after Ed had closed its video game division in 1994. Funny enough, Irem was the first company Takashi Nishiyama worked for. This dude really got around. Irem was responsible for some classic games, such as R-Type, Kung Fu, Lode Runner, and In the Hunt. Neo Turf Masters was the company's first game, and they'd follow it up by creating the iconic Metal Slug franchise, before being wholly absorbed into SNK. Now that you're all caught up on the Neo Geo, NAZCA, and Piston Takashi, let's play the damn game. After inserting your quarter, you're given the option of stroke or match play. Stroke is your typical round of golf. Lowest score wins, and this can be played single or with 2 players. Match play is exclusive to multiplayer. In this mode, players compete for the best score on each hole. Lowest score wins the hole, and whoever wins the most holes wins the game. The game features 6 playable characters, all with their own playstyle and ability ratings: driving, accuracy, skill, recovery, and putting. 3 of these are pretty self-explanatory. Driving is how far you can hit the ball, accuracy is how close the ball will land towards where you're aiming, and putting is how well you can sink the ball once you're on the green. But skill and recovery are the real deal here. Skill determines how the golfer controls, and recovery is what you need to get out of the ever-present rough should you make a mistake, but more on that later. The roster consists of young American hero George Spinner, who is average across the board, English technician Thomas Stewart, who can accurately place shots anywhere on the fairway, Australian veteran Frank Adams' high recovery lets him hit from the rough like it's nothing, German shotmaker Robert Landl can drive the ball deep with high accuracy, Brazilian power golfer Fernando Almeida can drive the ball like prime Tiger Woods, but that's really all he can do. And finally, Japanese puttmaster Toyoshige Takano can sink the ball from anywhere on the dance floor. I almost always pick Shotmaker because, he's supposed to make shots. He also kinda looks like the Mac Tonight guy. But experimenting with each player on each course is part of what makes the game so fun. A player who seems to suck on one course can absolutely rule another one, and learning which golfer prefers which course is all part of the game's meta. After picking your golfer, it's time to pick one of 4 courses. Baden International Golf Course in Germany, home of the South Europe International, Grand Canyon Golf Course in Arizona, where the Pan American Golf Championship was played, Blue Lagoon Golf Course in Australia for the South Pacific Open, and Fujiyama Oriental Golf Club for the Japan Classic. Each course has a beautiful pixel art intro screen along with their own theme song. Obviously these courses are fictional and are highly stylized to give the game some visual variety. I don't think there are any palm trees in the Grand Canyon, nor do any of its waterfalls look like this. Once you're ready to go, the objective of the game is set. It's the final day of the tournament and your golfer is buried in the mid-pack of the 32-player field on even par. Now go out there and play out of your mind to make a huge comeback and win the tournament. Each hole begins with what basically equates to a flyover if you were watching a modern PGA Tour event. We get to see the yardage of the hole, the pin location, and plan out our route to the green and try to play to your selected golfer's strengths. Now that we're teed up and ready to drive, let's go over the controls. The game uses 3 of the Neo Geo's 4 buttons, A, B, and C, in conjunction with a 2-click meter system. The first meter determines shot strength, while the second controls ball height and trajectory. Each golfer has different speed windows for each meter. More skilled characters' meters move slower, letting you pinpoint how much power you want to lay into the ball, while guys like Power Golfer might as well be a slot machine on how hard it is to get what you want. The power meter is also somewhat deceiving. If you hit 100% power, that's what you get. But if you're a single pixel off, instead of 99% power, the shot will be closer to 96%. A sort of risk-reward punishment. The meter actually goes up to 110%, letting you hit a max shot if you can nail the meter onto the green end of the window. This lets each golfer hit the ball a little further than they're actually supposed to be able to. The same applies to the height meter. Golfers with higher skill ratings have a larger window, letting them high point the ball over trees, along with setting up an easier approach to the green, as a high shot ball won't roll or bounce as much when it lands. However, a high shot can be swept up by wind, which is as predictable as a roulette wheel. Wind can go from 0 to 15 miles per hour and do a complete 180 turn in direction. You'd think a frickin' tornado was ripping through the course with how much the wind can change from shot to shot. On the flip side, a low angle shot won't be affected by wind as much, but will bounce and roll more aggressively when it lands, making it hard to really get the ball to stop where you want. Slices and hooks allow you to curve the ball left or right once it's in the air. Pressing the B button while lining up your shot will hook the ball left, while the C button slices it to the right. Once again, the higher skilled golfers can hook and slice the ball sharper than others, letting them get around obstacles more easily, fight against high winds, or make easy work of a dogleg. There's actually one more mechanic the game doesn't tell you about at all, even in the how to play demo that plays after throwing your quarter in. Spin can be applied to the ball while locking in the height of your shot. Holding forward on the joystick will apply top spin, making the ball roll forward after it lands. Holding back applies backspin, causing the ball to roll backwards after landing. And boy do these things spin. The ball will literally do a burnout when backspin is applied in the right conditions. Now that we know what we're doing, let's go whack some walls. While playing this game, you will inevitably land in some hazards, especially your first time playing. Outside of the fairway is the rough, heavy rough, sand bunkers, water hazards, and the dreaded out of bounds. Rough and heavy rough cuts a portion of your character's power along with limiting your club selection for that shot. When it comes to bunkers though, there's different levels of how boned you currently are. Hitting the bunker from different shot heights and speeds will bury the ball in different ways. If your ball lightly rolls into the sand, you can get out of the bunker fairly easily. But hit the bunker from a max tee shot while using a big boy club and it'll bury that sucker so deep it's almost impossible to get out. The picture of your ball inside the shot meters while inside a bunker indicates how bad things are. The deeper the ball is in the sand, the harder it will be to get out. Water hazards are where things get really sucky. If the ball lands in the middle of the river, ocean, creek, or whatever is around, you have to take a 1-stroke penalty and try again. If it lands on the edge though, you have the option of trying again with a penalty or play it where it lies, again at a power reduction. The worst of the worst is getting your ball into the dark green grass. This is out of bounds, which acts just like a water hazard. 1-stroke penalty, asshole, shoot again. All these hazards are where each golfer's recovery rating comes into play, and where veteran turns into an absolute god. This guy has so-so driving and putting, but laughs in the face of danger. If you go into the rough or bunker, this dude will save your ass every time. Most golfers get a 30% power penalty when hitting from the rough, but veteran gets a measly 5% penalty. Even in heavy rough, he hits for 90% power, meaning he can basically use the rough as a second fairway. Even if you bury a ball into the sand, dude hits for 70% power when the rest of the roster gets penalized as much as 70%. If you end up in the drink, Frank Adams asks for more. This is where the game gets really crazy. In any other golf game, you want to be on the fairway 100% of the time. But veteran breaks the mold by essentially letting you cut through doglegs and go around trees to places you aren't supposed to go. Or with power golfer, you can just blast the ball off the tee in some general direction of the pin and it'll probably get there. Obstacles be damned. Technician's hook and slice options let you bend the ball's flight to your will like the assassins had wanted. Finding which character's playstyle you like most is one of the best parts of the game. Once you get on the green, it's time to putt, and this game will surely test your short game skills. Putting is a fairly simple affair, just like in real life. Like Chubb Peterson says,
just tap it in.
Aim your shot and press the A button with the power meter inside the highlighted pip to send the ball home. The first couple holes of every course will be straightforward affairs, but as you get deeper into the round, the greens will get tougher and tougher. Grain will affect your ball speed, forcing you to adjust your power accordingly, while hills will wreak havoc on both your aim and power. The angle a ball travels over a hill can cause it to take a wild dive away from the hole, so you must compensate with this in mind. Each golfer's putting skill determines not only how fast the putt meter moves, but also how many pips are on the meter itself. A skilled putter will have lots of pips, letting you dial in the speed of your club better than those who aren't as adept on the dance floor. The highlighted pip is the power that the game suggests, but it's something you can't fully trust. Typically when putting uphill, you want to stop the meter a pip or two higher. Conversely, when going downhill, stop it a pip or two lower. That's basically it. The game is very simple to understand and play, but man is it hard. Seriously, this game was a certified money sucker in arcades. The game's difficulty isn't in the controls, but in the course design and the ever-changing wind. I love the game, but I've never in my life finished first in a single tournament, not once. Second at Grand Canyon with Shotmaker is the closest I've ever gotten on normal difficulty. Inserting a coin essentially buys you 3 holes. Shooting par deducts a hole, while shooting under par refunds you 1 hole. Shooting over par deducts an additional hole from your count. meaning if you are the fucking man, you can play an entire 18-hole round on 1 credit if you shoot under par on 15 of them. There are 2 in-game contests to help you during your round, closest to the pin and longest drive. Each of these contests will appear once per round on some of the shortest and longest holes respectively. Beat the current record and you'll be rewarded with additional holes to save you some quarters. Outside of the gameplay, the thing I love most about the game is the sound design. The selection screen is a high energy track that gets you pumped up to play, while each course has its own distinct theme that ranges from smooth saxophone to Sonic the Hedgehog-like synth. My favorite is the USA course theme. After hearing this song for the first time, I was never the same again. Along with the music are male and female commentators, and these two really help put the game over. The unnamed guy usually comes in with a "good shot" when you drive the ball, along with speaking over the whole information screen. Every once in a while he'll yell, "Go!" when something happens, and it always cracks me up. Along with, "Oh no!" whenever things don't go as planned. If he's the play-by-play man, then the lady is the color analyst, as she updates you on where your ball currently lies, and your potential score prior to a putt attempt. She also updates you on the leaderboard after each hole, where she will not hesitate to berate you on a poor performance.
Player 1 had a bad day.
I think her name is supposed to be Nancy, but I always thought it was Nissa in the past. But playing the game now, it sounds more like Nancy. My absolute favorite part of the game is when she screams, "On the green!" anytime you reach the dance floor. That gives me life every time I hear it. Tying all that together are the sound effects. Golf is a game with satisfying sounds, most notably the sound of a driver knocking the piss out of the ball on the tee and the ball falling into the cup. NEO Turf Masters nails this. The sound of a drive is very satisfying.
Good shot.
And I will never get tired of hearing this sound at the end of a hole. That's the fucking good stuff, man. So is NEO Turf Masters the greatest arcade game ever made? No, not by a long shot. Even as a fan, I can't say that. But this is the best arcade golf game for my money. Luckily these days, you don't have to find an arcade or a working AES to play it. This game has been ported to every modern console, including the Nintendo Switch, so you can even hit the links on the go. I wonder if anyone's been really meta and played NEO Turf Masters between holes while playing an actual round of golf. Would that be meta or Omni? However, if you want to play the most complete version of NEO Turf Masters, you'll have to find yourself a Neo Geo CD, which launched in Japan in 1994. This thing was SNK's attempt to reduce the cost of the AES by gutting the Neo Geo arcade board and converting the cartridge-based games to CD-ROM. The Neo Geo CD was significantly cheaper than the AES, retailing for $399 US, almost half the price. The games were also way cheaper, retailing for about 50 to 80 bucks. The price reduction came at a steep compromise though, as the Neo Geo CD is notorious for its long load times, ranging anywhere from 30 seconds to a full minute per load screen. Anyone who's played this thing has spent more time with that little monkey than with their own family. The console wasn't well received when it launched, and that negative vibe continued until the console's dying day in 1997, only 3 years later. Anyway, NEO Turf Masters made its way to the ill-fated console, but this wasn't a mere port, but instead a sort of expanded edition. All the original features returned, but are accompanied by a new arranged soundtrack, along with a profile system to track player stats and records, a double yardage mode where every player can hit twice the distance they normally could when driving, a handicap mode where players can golf with a handicap to help them out, and Grand Slam mode. This mode replicates the sport of golf a little more accurately, with a 2-day tournament rather than playing a single round. The pin locations even change between both days. But the big addition is a secret 5th golf course only playable after inputting a code on the course selection screen. Edinburgh Old Links in Scotland, home of the Scotland Open Traditional. I've never played this version of the game, but I've heard this course is the absolute hardest it has to offer. I already suck at the game enough, so I really don't need the extra challenge, but it would be cool to play it at least once. I will say though, after listening to the arranged soundtrack, I do prefer the original game's music in comparison. And those load times, man. I don't think I could put up with that. NEO Turf Masters is one of the less egregious games by time, but it has to load after almost every shot and cutscene. No thanks. But regardless, this game rocks no matter how you choose to play it, even on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. A single round takes just under 30 minutes to play, so it's the perfect pick up and play game, especially on something like the Switch. And it costs $8, so you really have nothing to lose, so check it out. As always, thank you for watching. I'm RedCometXIII, and I'll see you next time.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy.